Now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Honorable members, does any member wish to give a notice of a motion? Notice of a motion. Honorable Faber.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Chair, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a notice of motion that this House debate the decision our National Energy Regulator, NERSA, wants to make by authorising Eskom's application to hike tariffs by 25.3% on June 29 this year. NERSA said in a statement that he had determined the timelines for processing Eskom's application for the selective reopening of the third multi-year price determination decision for 2015-16 to 2017-18 period on Wednesday. Eskom already implemented approximately half of the 25% increase for which it's making application on the 1st of April. Last week, NERSA announced that it had received Eskom's application for the reopening of tariff negotiations 2015-16. Eskom needs 32.9 million to supplement its generation capacity with open cycle gas turbines for its short-term power purchasing program, and then the impact of the increase in environmental levy, according to NERSA's statement. From 1 April, direct Eskom customer pay 12.6% more for electricity, and Eskom charges municipality 14.2% more. Our economy is already under tremendous pressure, and companies will find it almost impossible to keep doors open. I thus ask the House to debate this issue seriously.
Masondo.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I wish to move a notice of motion that the Council notes with grave concern the continuing incidents of violence and abuse taking place in various parts of the country against children as reported by the media. The possibility that the incidents reported may not be the only ones taking place, given that it is estimated that almost 38% of the South African population is legally classified as children, and only 46,991 crimes against children have been reported by the South African Police Service in the 2013-2014 financial year. That in the same financial year, sexual crimes committed against children constituted 36% of the national total, while the perpetrator was known to the child in 84% of the reported cases. With the National Child Protection Week campaign under the auspices of the Minister of Social Development scheduled to take place the week of 25 to 31 May 2015, I hereby request that at its next sitting, the Council holds a debate on the possible disconnect between the legislation intended to protect and safeguard our children against abuse, neglect, and exploitation, and its successful implementation through various institutions and stakeholders. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Lond.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a motion with notice that this House has a snap debate on the role of the IEC and the political parties' respect of the democratic processes and outcomes of South Africa's elections. Yesterday, 12 May 2015, ANC members in the NCOP voiced their opposition to a motion without notice condemning political parties in general and Oudtshoorn in particular for disrespecting the will of the voters and not respecting the democratic outcomes of elections. I move that the Council congratulate...
Honourable Lond, just on a point, I need to double check because the motion related to Oudtshoorn was dealt with yesterday, and there was a decision by the House, so I don't know whether procedurally it would be correct to have the same motion being read out again.
It is not the same motion, Honourable Chairperson.
I haven't given you a chance, Honourable Van Lingen.
Oh, you looked at me and I thought I
No,
was
to
okay.
look at you doesn't mean that I've given you a chance. Okay, can you take your seat, Honourable Member? I haven't recognized you. Um, I would allow the member to present the motion, but then double check it against what was presented yesterday and come back with a ruling on that matter. Can you continue on? I just thought that I must bring it to your attention.
Yesterday, 12 May 2015, ANC members in the NCOP voiced their opposition to a motion without notice condemning political parties in general and in Oudtshoorn in particular for disrespecting the will of the voters and not respecting the democratic outcomes of elections. I move that the Council congratulate all political parties for taking part in these elections and mostly respecting the outcome of the results and subsequent consequences. Shows that South Africa and all the country's voters that we are indeed an institution that respects democratic processes and the will of the voters. Condemns the minority coalition in Oudtshoorn for refusing to respect the will of the voters by clinging onto power. Condemns, irrespective of political affiliation, any flouting of the rules, and calls on all political parties to respect the wishes of the majority of the voters in Oudtshoorn and allow the democratically elected representatives to govern the municipality. The Democratic Alliance calls for a debate to address the above issues.
Honorable Member, Lord, your time has expired. Your motion will therefore be printed in full. Can we have Honorable Isaac?
Honourable Chairperson, I thank you for the opportunity. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a motion with notice that municipalities throughout the country have not been adhering to their commitments in terms of their payments to ESCOM and various water boards. The situation, Honourable Chairperson, has now become of major concern, with Treasury now threatening to withhold payments to municipalities for their municipal grants. I hereby request that this House agree to a snap debate.
Honorable Isaac, just Honorable.
I rise on the point of order. The matter was just considered this morning in the committee and is to serve before this House, the report, on the matters that the member is raising as a motion.
It will be coming to the House.
Yes, will be
So
coming to the House.
therefore, on the basis of the rule on anticipation, may we not proceed with that matter if it will be coming before the House?
Fair enough. We'll
Thank you
discuss
very
it.
much. Is there any other member that I must have left out? Honorable Smith?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a motion with notice that this House debate at its next sitting. It is highly disturbing that the Minister is forging ahead with the caption of land and plan to expropriate all land above the size of 5,000 hectares. It is clear that the ANC government did not think this decision through and that no proper study was done to qualify or disqualify this planned action. It is also clear that the ANC preferred the easy way out by using a one-size-fits-all approach to land that will harm our agricultural, tourism, and wildlife trade industries irreparably. This will also have a major knock-on effect on our already fragile economy that will be followed by major job losses. I therefore move for an urgent debate on the caption of land and its implications on the viability of land users and the economy. I so move.
Thank you very much. Members, we shall now proceed to motions without notices. May I be assisted also with the names? I might not take all of you, ne? And just be, you'll have to bear with me. Honorable Maku.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. On behalf of the ANC, I hereby move without notice that the Council notes that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa was in Tanzania on Tuesday, where he represented President Jacob Zuma at a summit that discussed challenges facing Burundi. Further notes that President Zuma was invited to the extraordinary summit of heads of state and government of East African Community because he was previously a mediator in the Burundi peace process. Also notes that the summit has been convened specifically to deliberate on the current political and security challenges facing the people of Burundi and to chart a way forward. Therefore, commend the government as represented by the Deputy President on the role that South Africa plays in resolving disputes in Africa and the world. I so move.
Thank you very much. Honorable Matthijs? No. Is there any objection to the motion? In the absence of any objection, therefore, the motion shall be agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Matthijs?
Thank you, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters to move without notice that the House notes and welcomes the Western High Court judgment that ruled that Section 11 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities Act should not apply to members of Parliament, and therefore it was unlawful for the Speaker to order the police to remove EFF MPs from Parliament chambers during the State of the Nation address. Note that the court gave Parliament 12 months to amend the section of the Act in order to be consistent with the Constitution. EFF always argued that the Section 11 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities Act must be read.
Chairperson, there was a motion on the matter yesterday already.
Yes, it is noted.
Oh, okay.
My motion is a bit different to the DA motion. I also heard that motion.
Thank you very much.
I am sure I'm allowed to complete
all right.
my motion.
May I apply the same principle that I applied yesterday, earlier on? I'll have to check whether if the same motion was passed yesterday. If so, then the motion will fall off.
Yes, I'll
But
complete
you may
and
proceed.
then you'll decide. Thank you. We will. Note that, it gives me a chance to read again. Note that the court gave Parliament 12 months to amend the section of the Act in order to be consistent with the Constitution. The Economic Freedom Fighters always argued that Section 11 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities Act must be read alongside Section 58, 1B of the Constitution, which states that members of Parliament are not liable.
Honorable Matthijs, your time has expired. Let me remind members, 1 minute and a half for motion. So your time has expired. Your motion will be printed in full in the next order paper. Is there an objection? Okay, what's the objection? No, I haven't. Oh, you are already. Okay. So even before I ask the question as to whether the motion is agreed to or not, all right, then in the light of the objection, and of course that objection should take into account the earlier ruling I made insofar as whether if we have already that motion as read yesterday out. But if not, then the motion is not agreed to, and it will then be treated as a notice of a motion. Honorable Masango. Okay, Honorable Masango did not raise him. Honorable Zwane.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the ANC, I hereby move without notice that Council one notes with delight that the legendary Italian car maker Maserati has chosen top South African model Genevieve Morton to be the face of its 2015 range. This will be featured in a worldwide social media campaign. Secondly, the Council notes that hailing from East Rand city of Benoni, but raised in Scottburgh on the southeast coast of KwaZulu-Natal, the 26-year-old model is the first South African to appear in the renowned Sports Illustrated America swimsuit issue. Thirdly, the Council notes that Maserati is using the pictures with Genevieve for the relaunch of its global brochure range and marks the arrival of a new corporate image for its leading client communications. And fourthly, that Council takes this opportunity to congratulate Genevieve and wishes her well in representing the country and her profession internationally. I'll so move.
Chair, to the motion. In the absence of any objection, then the motion shall be agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Ntebe.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the ANC, I'm moving a motion without notice that the Council notes that a fresh 7.3 magnitude earthquake rattled Nepal and northern India on Tuesday, the 12th of May, killing at least 68 people and injuring thousands in the region, as many buildings that were already weakened by the last month's massive trauma were sent tumbling to the ground. Further notes that Tuesday's quake set off at least a dozen landslides in 6 districts, raising fears that the death toll could rise. We extend our support to the aid organization, specifically the Gift of the Givers, to continue with the necessary assistance needed at this time. We hereby wish to send our condolences to the people of Nepal and in these trying times and urge the international community to step up their support to the affected nation. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection to the motion? Therefore, the motion is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. So, Honorable Mtileni, I have a list, honorable members. Just be patient.
You want to speak alone, eh? I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House note and condemn the action by Platinum Mine Alone Mint to cut capital expenditure, cutting at least 3,500 employees. Further note that last week, Anglo-American Platinum decided to retrench 474 workers as part of its plans to cut off about 60,000 jobs by 2017. I further move that this House consider this act as a serious undermining of the Labour Relations Act and a human rights violation issue that needs urgent attention. I call upon the Minister to make clear to the mining companies in a meeting he has called with all stakeholders that South Africa has labour laws, which all companies must adhere to. And further note that since the massacre of 34 mine workers whose crime was to demand a living at the hands of the ANC government, police mine workers remain overworked and underpaid, while big mining companies get away with profit shifting, tax evasion, and transfer pricing. I so move that the government refuse to expose those involved in the cold-hearted massacre of 34 men, as they are high-class ANC officials who sacrifice our people's lives to protect the interests of white monopoly capital. I further note that almost 3 years later...
Your time has expired. Your motion will be printed in full in the next order paper. Thank you very much. What is it? Okay. All right. Up to where Honorable Mtileni's time expired, I shall put the question whether if there's any objection to the motion. In the light of the objection, therefore, the motion shall then be treated as a notice. Honorable Groenewald.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I wish to move a motion without notice to congratulate the Department of Health in the Western Cape when the MEC of Health announced that they are putting aside 59 million rand to improve the working conditions and skills of nurses as part of their plans to stop the exodus of health professionals. MEC Mbombo acknowledged the challenges facing the department, lecturers, nurses, students, and underlined that caregivers delivered a better service when looked after. She also wants to have a better working condition for all nurses across the province. I so move.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection to the motion? In the light of the objection, therefore, the motion shall be treated as a notice of a motion. Honorable Mpambo Sibagwa. Is that a point of order?
Mphambo Sibukwana, Honorable Chairperson.
Can you take a seat, ma'am? There's a point of order.
Honorable Chair, I need to get clarity, and please, if you can just guide me. On the previous motion, if the member did not finish his motion, is it correct for this House not to accept it if they did not fully hear the motion? I cannot see that one can reject the motion if the motion was not totally done. I just want clarity on that, because I'm really not sure. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
It would have been good if the objection was raised at the time before even I allowed the motion to be proceeded with. We take it that the motion has been dealt with. If there's any other thing, we shall deal with it outside these processes. Honorable, whom did I have to say? Oh, Honorable Tandi.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chairperson, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I move without notice that the Council notes with outrage the untimely and the sudden death of a mother who was killed as she was fetching her children at Kulanolwazi School in Gauteng Province. The continuing violence and heinous crimes meted out against women are unacceptable. Our sincere and profound condolences go out to her family and loved ones during this difficult time. I so move, Chairperson.
Is there any objection to the motion? Therefore, the motion is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Manopol.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the African National Congress, I hereby move without notice that the Council knows that a man was arrested on Tuesday, 12 May, in connection with the killing a pregnant woman in hijacking outside her daughter's school in Bramfisher, Phase 4. Further knows that the woman was with her 7-year-old son and was picking up a 12-year-old daughter from Soweto School on April 20, May 2015, when the incident happened. Also knows that the man was detained in Dobsonville and was expected to appear in Roodepoort Magistrate Court on Thursday, 14 May 2015. Therefore, condemns the brutality and the violence perpetrated against these women and children, and urges the police and National Prosecuting Authority to do everything in their powers to make sure that the perpetrators of these violent crimes face the full might of the law. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion? In the absence of any, therefore, the motion is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The last hand that I had is Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. I withdraw.
You withdraw. Thank you very much. Then that brings us to the end of motions. The Secretary will read then the first order of the day.
Policy debate on budget vote number 25, economic development.
Before we proceed, may I therefore take the opportunity to welcome the Minister and the Deputy Minister for Economic Development, special delegates who are with us today. I only see one, but nevertheless, you are heartily welcome, including Salga as well. Honorable Minister, may you introduce the debate?
Chairperson of the NCOP, special delegates and members of SALGA, honorable members. Yesterday I set out the broad vision of economic development and of the department at the budget vote in the National Assembly, and I tabled the budget of 886 million rand. At the sitting of this august House today, I wish to highlight 5 of the key announcements made and point to the relevance for provinces. The first, honourable members, is on industrial funding. The IDC will make available 100 billion rand over the next 5 years for industrial funding. 23 billion rand of this will be set aside for viable projects for black industrialists. The IDC will offer a discount of 150 basis points on the normal finance costs that would apply. So, if the cost of one particular project is 10%, a qualifying black industrialist will obtain funding at 8.5%. They can qualify for additional discounts over and above this if they meet our jobs and localization targets too. To qualify, an entrepreneur must be an industrialist. That means they must own and control the enterprise. That enterprise must be in the productive sector of the economy. And it covers sectors such as manufacturing, mining and beneficiation, agriculture and agro-processing, the green economy, and tourism. So this program is not about buying 5% or 10% shares in a company, sitting back and waiting for the dividends to flow in. We want to back black South Africans who roll up their sleeves to build the economy, to create decent work opportunities, and increase our factory, our mining, and our agricultural base. The IDC will ensure that within its funding envelope, 4.5 billion rand is made available for women's empowerment and 4.5 billion rand for youth empowerment in the productive sectors. Honourable members, through this, we've addressed one key hurdle, namely where the funding will come from. But that is not sufficient. We now need to ensure that the other hurdles are addressed. For example, for a project to be viable and to qualify for funding, it needs markets and it needs a productive enterprise. To assist with market access, both the public and private sector need to set aside opportunities for black industrialists. The private sector companies can incorporate black South Africans in their supply chains, in the making of components, in the making of finished goods that companies buy, and the state can do so in its procurement program. We will do so. To ensure productive enterprises, the entrepreneurs must bring viable projects, hard work, energy, innovation, enterprise, and partnerships with labor. How can provinces assist? They can do so by helping to publicize this important announcement, by aligning provincial development agency visions to this that government has set nationally, and developing the partnerships between those provincial agencies and the IDC, and finally by assisting entrepreneurs to develop good business ideas into viable projects. The second is on competition policy. The Competition Commission will be launching a market inquiry into parts of the retail sector. In our visits across the country, going to communities, meeting South Africans, we have heard complaints that black South Africans have limited access to retail opportunities in townships and in shopping malls, and as well as the perception of growing concentration of ownership and turnover, particularly in grocery retailing. Community members have said to us, where is the opportunity for us to enter? Through the Competition Act, A market inquiry allows us to bring all the facts, put them all on the table, enable the competition authorities to be better informed, and government to take the necessary action that may be warranted. So if we are going to be serious about creating space for South Africans, black South Africans to enter retail, we are going to put the spotlight on what is happening in the sector. Provinces can assist us with this market inquiry by providing evidence and information to the Commission on retail structures in townships in the different provinces and about concerns with access to shopping malls in their areas. The third is African integration. Honourable members, our trade and economic links with the rest of the continent is critical to our own prosperity. To cite a few examples, our exports to the rest of the continent is worth 300 billion rand, and this has grown much faster than the GDP. So in fact, what we sell to the rest of the continent is stimulating the South African economy. There are now 244,000 direct jobs in South Africa that are supported by our exports of manufactured, agricultural and mining products to the rest of Africa. The biggest export market for South African-made plastic products is Zimbabwe. For televisions that we make here, it is Zambia. And for clothing that we sell, the biggest export market is Mozambique. Every second glass of water that is drunk, that you drink in Gauteng or that you use in mining or manufacturing or agriculture in Gauteng comes from Lesotho through a major water pipeline. The gas that powers Sasol in the Free State, our biggest industrial company, comes from Mozambique. And what these point to is how connected we are as African economies. On Africa Day, 25 May, the department will convene a symposium with the University of Johannesburg to look at the economic links with the rest of Africa, bringing together community representatives, investors, trade unionists, intellectuals, and public officials. It's about making the argument concretely against xenophobia. This Africa, this continent of ours, is also the basis of our own long-term prosperity. Provinces can play a role in two ways. NCOP members are invited to attend and shape the discussions, and we will be doing a road show to other provinces, and we need provincial partners to root the discussion in communities. The fourth is on trade areas. Government offers significant support and protection for local industries through import tariffs and anti-dumping measures. Last year, for example, we increased tariffs on 13 products, including paper and batteries, barbed wire, and chickens. Tariffs can provide the necessary relief and support to companies. However, if we do not improve the performance of South African companies through modernizing our industrial base, we won't be competitive. We'll be reliant on protection, and when that's lifted, industries collapse. I will therefore require ITAC, through a trade directive that I will issue, to ensure companies that receive tariff protection through ITAC must invest more in their companies, must focus on growing employment, on product innovation, and on productivity improvements. Provinces can assist by working with companies in their industrial areas to upgrade their manufacturing base. There are a number of provincial initiatives on industrial clusters. The lessons that KZN is learning from its sector clusters need to be shared with Mpumalanga so that we in fact build South Africa and the South African manufacturing base. Some of this we will coordinate now through the MINMEC, where MECs and 3 ministers meet together. The fifth area covers infrastructure. One of the key challenges we face with infrastructure is the theft of cable and metal from the public infrastructure. This leads to serious problems with disruption to trains, to water supplies, to energy, to households. Last year in December, President Zuma convened a meeting of the PICC Council, and we had there the premiers of the provinces and the mayors of the different metros and this SALGA leadership. They backed us in developing a set of measures, a package of measures to crack down on the theft of cable and metal. These include amendments to various pieces of legislation, to toughen conditions on bail, to provide for minimum sentencing, and to require those who possess, when you are caught in possession with copper cable, to explain where they obtained it. I'm pleased to report that the Minister of Justice, working with the PICC, is finalizing a set of draft amendments to the relevant laws. Provinces can assist by compiling dossiers of information on the disruptions caused by cable and metal theft, and by supporting our actions to restrict the trade in scrap metal. We're working now with the provinces on these areas. Honourable members, it's against this background that I wish to formally introduce the policy debate on economic development. I look forward to the ideas and the guidance of the NCOP. Development takes place ultimately at a local area. Nationally, we come up with ideas, with plans, we mobilize resources, but where that money hits the ground is in a province, in a municipality, where our people live. That's why partnership is so important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. May I call on Honourable Makue to continue the debate?
Honourable Deputy Chairperson, on behalf of the Select Committee on Economic and Business Development, we want to welcome to this House our Minister Patel and the Deputy Minister Masuku. We are indeed proud to be able to present to this House the budget and plans of the Department of Economic Development. Honourable members, as we are here to discuss the budget of the Economic Development Department, I wish to reflect on the mandate and functions of the department. We often tend to focus on one aspect or the other. It is, however, also important to consider the whole picture. The EDD's core mandate is to promote the alignment of state activities around inclusive growth, and in particular, around job creation. That is in line with the ANC's strong focus on job creation and economic equality for our people. Cabinet adopted the new growth path in 2010 and subsequently reaffirmed it as the operational plan for the economy of the National Development Plan. The new growth path set a target of 5 million new jobs by the end of the decade and laid out strategies to achieve this ambitious goal. It identified the main job drivers, the sectors and activities that can generate employment on a large scale. A key to job driver is the new growth path is infrastructure. The department has a central role to play in this regard as the main source of technical support for the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Committee. In this role, the EDD monitors progress on projects included in the National Infrastructure Plan, addresses blockages as they arise, and develop guidelines and models to improve the implementation and developmental impact of our National Build Programme. An important area of work for the EDD is also the promotion of alignment between the economic policies of the three spheres of the state: municipal, provincial, and national. The state, with the EDD, convenes the Economic Development MINMAC, which is an important forum for achieving this aim. And in the address of our Honourable Minister Patel, the importance of local government and provinces has been aptly underlined. In addition, the National Infrastructure Plan under the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission provides an important stimulus for more integrated regional development within the Southern African region, but also on the African continent. For instance, various strategic integrated projects aim to establish development corridors in the Northwest, the Southeastern Coast, the Northern Cape, and the line from Durban, Free State, and Gauteng, amongst others. In addition, the SIPs include the improvement of infrastructure in our poorest rural areas, the densification of our cities, and the rollout of broadband across our country. These initiatives should go far to reversing the discriminatory and divisive spatial allocation of resources that we inherited from apartheid. The EDD also has a central role to play in promoting industrialization. To start with, the department has been given responsibility for supervising and guiding key agencies for industrialization, the Competition and Trade Regulatory Agencies and the Industrial Development Corporation, the IDC. Economic Development Department's engagement with the competition authorities have led to more focused and strategic interventions, as well as a welcome increase in the scale of enforcement. Government is uncovering major cartels and abuse of dominance, from bread to construction, from basic chemicals to fertilizers. That in itself points to the urgent need for reform in our economy to ensure a more open and competitive environment as the basis for sustained growth and greater equality. Chairperson, establishing the IDC has provided an important basis for future growth. Finally, the promotion of social dialogue has been a centerpiece of the EDD's work over the past few years. Engagement with stakeholders is critical for the transformation of the economy. Our development effort requires the collaboration, hard work, and sacrifice of all our people. Social dialogue provides an important mechanism for mobilizing our nation around our development aims. Honorable members, this short overview of some of the key work of the Economic Development Department demonstrate that this department is worthy of our support. It continues to play an important role in supporting job creation, investment, and sustainable growth in our country. We expect the department to deploy its resources in the coming year to continue to support the program of radical economic transformation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Van Lingen.
It's stuck on. Thank you. Honourable Chairperson, The debate is about economic growth and jobs and whether this department is delivering on its mandate or if it's just a smokescreen to employ more cronies connected to President Zuma. If this department is to justify its existence, it has to create an environment for investment and economic development that will contribute to real economic growth and job creation. Since the inception of this department in 2009, the growth rate has decreased to 1.4% in 2014. According to the NDP, we need a GDP of at least 5% to save the economy and to create jobs. The ILO states that South Africa has the 8th highest unemployment rate in the world, and it is expected to increase to the 6th highest by 2019. This indicates that unemployment rate is on a horror path upwards. It is a ticking time bomb. The broader unemployment rate is 34%, of which 66% represent our youth. What planning is being done to accommodate the current group of 20 to 24-year-olds who total 5.2 million? What provision is being made for them to become economically active and also to take part in education? Or are we just talking poverty, inequality, and unemployment? Honourable Chairperson, yesterday the Minister announced, and now in the House, 23 billion to support black industrialists. The DA supports investment into business, but what about investing in hundreds of small businesses as a key driver of economic growth? Investing in our SMMEs will give the outsider, the majority of South Africans, access to the economy as opposed to continuing our President's legacy of developing an elite, closed crony society. The next group of young people are of 15 to 19 years old, also number 5.2 million. At least 1 million people will enter the job market annually over the next 5 years. How ready is South Africa to cope with this? Has your department analyzed the exponential growth in unemployment numbers in the country under the current growth rate? And if you did, what forward planning has been done to rectify this? Are there any incentives planned for the private sector to create jobs and at the same time alleviate the huge stress of the public purse of over 400 billion in terms of excessive number of jobs created in government? Honourable Chairperson, the Minister must take note of the hard realities. Sub-Saharan Africa, the growth rate is 4.5%. The unemployment number in this country has increased by 1.4 million since 2009. The reality is that this department has to create economic growth of at least 5% to turn around investor confidence and create the much needed jobs. The budget for this department, as the Minister so rightly said, was almost 900 million, which is an increase of about 27%. So we look at that very carefully. When the Secretariat of the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission was placed under this department, Parliament was told that this department would cope. At present, the organogram is reflecting the needs of the PICC has not been completed. The increase in the budget is partly for more technical people to be appointed to the PIC, growing the staff component from 117 to 149. Can the Minister explain the bloating of the staff component, increasing the budget? Will the PICC better serve its mandate? Actually, this function belongs in the presidency. I don't know why it is here. Minister, I beg you not to follow in the footsteps of a questionable president. By leading your department from the front, you might be able to achieve positive results. Since the Infrastructure Development Act came into being in 2014 and the spin doctor marketing around the SIPS projects, very little is materialized. The Minister argued that the Act will empower the department to fast-track SIPS projects and by coordinating the blockages amongst the various departments and entities operating in silos. However, the delays in Medupi and Kusile are rather blamed on the private sector. But the ANC has urged Eskom in December to pull finger and to fast-track construction to alleviate the strain on the electricity supply. The striking workers blame Eskom. So, Minister, I think this fast-tracking is your job and in your department, since you happen to be the chairperson of the PICC. In the report published by the Economic Development Portfolio Committee this week, it is clear that the reporting is also not, the quarterly reporting is not materializing. We don't know what state programs and projects for job creation is available. Has any report been published on the monitoring progress and the coordination of the infrastructure projects, especially those identified in the State of the Nation addresses over the past couple of years? When will South Africa know what this department is doing and what progress has been made with the 18 SIPS projects? When has the department reported on the progress of national energy projects? Or, for that matter, on the coordination of hydropower, energy and gas projects in the sub-Saharan Africa? Chairperson, we are forever told that the reports are before Cabinet. When will the unemployed masses hear what programs are successfully implemented for job creation? Economic development is a key priority all over South Africa, and the Minister has just agreed that the funding must go down to local government level, and we entirely agree with that. In order for South Africans to have economic freedom, government must breathe life into education and job creation opportunities. We cannot just pay lip service to inequality. We must do something about it. We must offer the people of South Africa something better. A commitment to economic growth and getting past the lip service is most important. We must offer the people of South Africa freedom in the economy, fairness in quality education, and opportunity in the job market. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kaula.
Honorable Deputy Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister. Economic development is one of the not so many departments, both whose Minister and Deputy Minister are always readily available for meetings and briefings of the Select Committee. That is appreciated, Honorable Minister and your team. Honorable Chairperson, the economy of our country is in distress. The growth rate of the country's economy in 2014 was 1.5%, much lower than the expectations and lower than the global economic growth of 3.3%. The IMF forecast for South Africa's economic growth in 2015 is at 2%, and their forecast of our 2016 growth is at 2.1%. Yet, South Africa's inflation rate by March 2015 was at about 4%. This is not a very good picture for our economy. Coupled with these glim pictures, Eskom, with its electricity shortages, is struggling to meet the industrial and consumer demands of our country. This factor alone has a huge negative impact upon the sluggish economic growth of South Africa. Unemployment, especially among the youth of our country, is relatively high and remains one of the highest social challenges facing South Africa. Poor labor relations, resulting in occasional industrial strikes, has led to some companies relocating to other African countries like Botswana and Lesotho, to name but a few. For example, Johnson Control, a global leader in automotive seating, overhead systems, floor consoles, door panels, and instrument panels, relocated part of its operations in South Africa to Lesotho because of its quote-unquote need to achieve a more competitive manufacturing footprint. Last year, the automotive leather company relocated from Roslyn in Pretoria to Lesotho. The wiring harness producer, Kromberg and Skatberg, relocated to Botswana. Other big corporates like the mining sector are either cutting down on staff in huge numbers or closing down. The country has thus far failed to deal with the structural problem of the huge widening gap between the rich and the poor. These are some of the few amongst the many challenges facing economic development in our country. These challenges are not entirely of the making of your department, Honorable Minister, but are just what your department is faced with. Your department is a victim of circumstances in this case. One other such circumstance is the fact that when government got bloated up in this current administration, God knows why, too many departments ended up being created in the economic cluster. The result of that is enormous unnecessary duplications and uncoordination of efforts in the cluster. The announcement of big spending to assist industrial development here today is good news indeed. However, one cannot help but view these probable gains against the backdrop of how much the country has lost and is continuing to lose. We need to look at ways of closing the exit valve and leave open only the incoming valve. Government must get their house in order to enable economic development to shape up. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dikhale.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Members, ladies and gentlemen. It is on this day in 1940 that the then newly elected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of England, Winston Churchill, delivered his blood, toil, tears, and sweat speech to the United Kingdom Parliament. In his speech, he said, and I quote, "We are in the preliminary stage of one of the greatest battles in history. We are in action at many points. We have to be prepared. The air battle is continuous, and many preparations have to be made here at home. I would say to the House, as I said to those who have joined this government, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word, victory. Victory at all costs, victory in spite of all terror, victory however long and hard the road may be. For without victory, there is no survival." Close quote. Like the government of the United Kingdom in 1940, the ANC-led government is in the battle of its kind. And this is the battle against hunger, poverty, and unemployment. And we are sure, as Churchill was in 1940, that this government will be victorious no matter, to quote Churchill again, however long and hard the road may be. For without victory, there is no survival. We are sure about this victory against hunger, poverty, and unemployment because this ANC government has got a plan. This plan is called the National Development Plan, a vision for South Africa for 20 years until 2030. And this plan does not evolve from nowhere. So, honorable members, a round of applause for the ANC-led government. Its roots can be traced from the 2009 52nd National Conference in Polokwane, where the African National Congress took resolutions with, among others, were aimed at transforming our economy. The resolution on transformation of the economy was based on 15 pillars, many of which talk to the economic development issues. These include the following: creating decent work is the primary focus of economic policy. Accelerating shared economic growth by overcoming obstacles to growth and intervening to promote equity. Transforming the structures of production and ownership. Programs that directly absorb the unemployed, including public works programs. Investing in priority skills and education. And macroeconomic policies that support growth, job creation, and poverty eradication on a sustainable basis. In 2012 in Mangaung, the ANC took another resolution that fortifies the one it took in Polokwane to further strengthen our economic transformation. And this is the adoption of the National Development Plan, NDP, that I am talking about. The National Government Plan is a plan that runs for 20 years because governing a country like South Africa is a long-term project that needs a long-term plan. That is why you see even our manifestos not being different from each other. They always improve on one another with regard to objectives and goals that are long-term. And we should not be blamed for that. Most governing parties in our opposition do exactly the same because, as I said, governing a country is a long-term project. Our 2014 election manifesto had the slogan, "Good story to tell," because over 21 years, we have been able to make progress in dismantling the legacy of apartheid. Some people are quick to label us as having failed to govern, choosing to forget that apartheid was a well-planned intellectual policy that was implemented for about 50 years. In fact, it was applied even before it was formalized, so it spans for longer than 50 years. With regard to economic transformation, the 2014 election manifesto of the ANC promises to act boldly and decisively to increase investment in the real economy and infrastructure, to stimulate faster levels of inclusive growth, speed up social development, substantially reduce poverty, unemployment, and place the economy on a qualitatively different growth path. And this promise has already taken root at various levels of government. For example, in my province of Limpopo, the provincial government has developed the Limpopo Development Plan, which is informed by the National Development Plan, and calls for an inclusive economic growth path aimed at addressing poverty, inequality, and unemployment, while at the same time seeking to build a capable, career-oriented, and professional public service. The key targets and pillars underpinning the Limpopo Development Plan include the following: attaining an economic growth rate of 3%, creating 429,000 jobs, increasing the geographic cross-product contribution to the national GDP from 7.5% in 2014 to 9% over the MTF period, reducing the unemployment rate from 16.9% in 2014 to 14% starting this year, and reducing inequality in terms of Gini coefficient from 0.61 in 2014 to 0.50. In line with this development plan, the provincial government of Limpopo has facilitated the registration of about 13 cooperatives, which government continues to support and help market beyond the borders of the province. These cooperatives have positive spin-offs on investment into the economy of the province and the employment of rural community. One initiative run through this cooperative is the Marula Festival that runs in the late February every year, pulling in thousands of guests with concerts and, of course, fresh Marula beer. Locals have also been experimenting with other uses for the Marula fruit, which is nut that can be ground for cooking and making other products such as jam, soap, and body lotion. Marula is really helpful. That is why we have a saying that Palaja Mona Marula dia sepela. I will be making a mistake if I leave out Moringa, honorable member. The best important herb in Limpopo. Its medicinal use deals with all types of diseases. And honorable members in here, can testify to that. The provincial government of Limpopo is also facilitating the implementation of the Growth Points program, which focuses in areas such as Lephalale, Musina, Makado, Polokwane, Greater Tumadze, and Palabora. This program seeks to encourage critical role players and investors to implement projects in this area. So far, the construction of market stalls in the Mopani districts have been completed, and in this financial year, market stalls will be constructed in Elias Motswale, the local municipality in the Sekhukhune district, and Molemole local municipality in the Capricorn district at an estimated value of 2.7 million rands. These are but a few examples among many that show that the ANC-led government is making serious and positive moves in improving the lives of the people. Mushito Chola Pele and Insizulu is saying, Kuba.
Honorable Mahfouz, there's a point of order. Can you take a seat?
Chairperson.
Yes.
The honourable member.
On what point are you rising, honourable member?
Can the honourable member take a question, please, about Marula? Thank you.
Honourable Dikhale, are you prepared to take a question?
Like Mama Katie Dlamini outside. She always say this.
What is that?
Outside.
Oh, no, she's not prepared to take a question.
Yes. Mushito Ojola Pele, Siya Kuba, siya phambili. So says our President, Jacob Zuma. We therefore, as the ANC, support the budget vote of the Department of Economic Development. We do so because we know that for the government to continue with its effort to make the lives of our people better, it needs money. As the late American political scientist Aaron Wildavsky puts it, little can be done without money, and what will be tried is embedded in the budget. We support the budget because we believe that it will take the Department of Economic Development further in executing the mandate of the governing party to make the lives of our people better. We therefore say to the Minister, continue this journey that you have started of fighting poverty and unemployment. We know that it is long and hard, but like the Churchill, you will survive and be victorious. And the Honorable Member van Lingen will be a witness to that, Honorable Minister. Ka go riale, le nna ke re, ke swana le tsona phalatšela, ke monna marula, gomme ke a tloga. E re ke go lotše.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Scalfa.
Honourable Ministers, Honourable...
Just take it. Is that a point? Honourable?
Of a special kind.
No, there's no such.
Okay. Chairperson, on this day, 2 members of this August House were born. Mukwena.
No, Honourable Member, that's not a point of order. Honourable Chief Whip, can you take your seat? You should have raised it as a motion earlier on, you see. You had an opportunity, but those who are born today, happy birthday. Okay.
Honourable Chairperson, can you restart my time? I haven't even started my speech. Thank you. 42 seconds lost.
It's not for me to do that.
Thank you. Honourable Ministers, Honourable Members, Chairperson. Economic development in South Africa is hardly a good story to tell. In fact, it's a dismal story in which we find ourselves and government must take ownership of the failure to stimulate the kind of economic growth that South Africa needs. Economic development in general relates to economic growth, which leads to job creation and ultimately poverty alleviation. But it's not the job of government to create jobs. It is the job of government to create an enabling environment in which to stimulate the economy through the private sector and in that way create the much needed jobs that this country needs. In a report titled An Overview of the South African Economy by the IDC, released in 2013, the manufacturing sector back in 1994 accounted 20.9% of South Africa's GDP. It now has declined steadily to that of around 12% in 2014. In fact, South Africa's contribution to growth in manufacturing is dragging down the growth of the Southern African region. Without us, the growth in manufacturing sector would have been 6.23% between 2007 and 2012. But because of South Africa's dismal performance, the region only grew by 2%. We are failing not only ourselves, but this continent too. Chairperson, it is clear that our current national government has failed to assist our industries to create jobs and growth. In Minister Patel's budget speech yesterday, he cherry-picked statistics to show how the ministry is performing thus far. The truth of the matter is that South Africa has missed out by not focusing on growing its manufacturing base for the past 20 years, and countries that instead adopted strong industrial policies decades ago now far outstrip South Africa's growth rates. Between the fourth quarters of 2008, prior to President Zuma, and the fourth quarter of 2014, the number of unemployed people has grown by over 1 million countrywide. The fact is, under President Zuma's leadership, broad-based unemployment has grown to 34.6%. Provinces such as KZN top the list of unemployment at 616,000. In the Western Cape...
Just hold on, Mama, take your seat. Is that a point of order? Is that a point of order or not?
Yes, no, I wanted to ask, can she take a question?
No.
Okay,
Provinces such as KZN drop at 616,000. In the Western Cape, the number of discouraged workers since 2009 has dropped and sits at 12% lower than the national rate. What this means that 4 out of every 5 people who join the Western Cape labour force are finding jobs here. Chairperson, in the last quarter, our broad unemployment rate went down by a further percentage point. As our harvest season is now in full swing, we expect this figure to further decrease in months ahead. As the Western Cape economy continues to improve through the implementation of sound economic development policies, more and more people in the Western Cape will have access to opportunities benefiting the lives of all that choose to live here. Chairperson, growing the economy and creating jobs is not the easiest job at the best of times. With policy uncertainty, unreliable electricity supply, and restrictive regulations, it becomes almost impossible. Yet despite this, in the Western Cape, we are making the impossible possible. In the past 5 years, we have made great strides in getting our economy to work for the people of the Western Cape. I encourage Minister Patel to look more closely to the Western Cape. At every level, the DA-led Western Cape government is focusing on how to stimulate an environment for job creation. The Western Cape has taken a whole new approach to delivery, by becoming more focused and by embarking on the deepest consultation process ever conducted by a provincial government before deciding on its budgets and plans. The Western Cape has taken bold steps to work more cleverly and focus on key sectors with the greatest potential to accelerate growth and job creation. This process is called Project Kuliswa, the first economic game changer of the Western Cape government. Under a high growth scenario and with the full support of government and the private sector, this project can deliver over 200,000 jobs.
Honourable Member, just the point of order.
I would have liked to ask the Speaker whether she knows we're discussing the national budget.
Yeah.
No, that's not a point of order. Okay. Continue with the debate.
Project Kalisa means to grow, and growing the economy is what the DA-led Western Cape is focusing on. Project Kalisa is in line with the broad strategy of the National Development Plan, but for the first time takes a targeted view and plan of action to the next level. This project focuses on growth and creating jobs in agri-processing, tourism and the oil and gas sectors. The potential for our tourism sector is enormous. We already know that tourism is a major contributor to job creation in the Western Cape, pumping 17 billion into the economy and underpinning 204,000 formal jobs. With Project Kalisa, the DA-led government will add 120,000 more formal jobs to the sector and contribute another billion to our economy. This is what I call real impact and real opportunity. However, Chairperson, it would be impossible to grow our tourism sector at a rate required if our visa regulations chase visitors away. Until recently, Home Affairs seemed intent on killing South Africa's new tourism growth market, particularly China, India, and Africa, through onerous regulations, seemingly designed to make travelers choose destinations other than South Africa. The Standing Committee report on the impact of these regulations have been quite clear. Visa regulations is killing 21,000 jobs in this sector. Agri-processing is potentially the most important priority to alleviate unemployment and poverty in the rural areas. This sector contributes 12 billion in goods and services to our economy and accounts for 79,000 formal jobs in the province. This is why it is so important that a DA-led Western Cape has chosen this sector as one of the three priorities, increasing production by 100% to 26 billion and 100,000 formal direct jobs. The oil and gas sector, underpinned by the designation of the Saldanha Industrial Development Zone, is projected to be a powerful economic catalyst for the region and the country. Through Project Kalisa, we have an inspirational goal of adding 60,000 more formal jobs in the sector and increasing its contribution to 11 billion. I believe, Chairperson, that Project Kalisa is the first bold approach of its kind from a government in South Africa, which must be acknowledged and commended. Once again, the DA Western Cape is taking the lead. Chairperson, one of the main reasons South Africa is failing at developing the economy is that government is putting red tape in the way of growth. Red tape has been blamed for 70% of South Africa's new SME failings within the first 2 years. It is estimated it can take startups up to 90 days or longer to do the regulatory procedures needed to open shop. In 2013, the Growth Index revealed that SMEs spend an average of 75 hours a month dealing with red tape, an equivalent of 8 working days. It has been estimated that red tape comes at a cost of 6.5% of South Africa's GDP. Despite this, government wants wants more entrepreneurs to grow the economy. Grant Thornton's latest business report reveals a dismal 9% total optimism compared to that of 39% recorded just back in 2013. The report states that increased bureaucracy and red tape and economic uncertainty are the main causes. Chairperson, the situation in South Africa is so dramatic that we have recently fallen out of the global foreign direct investment ranking from a position of 13 in 2014. That's just 12 months ago. Chairperson, this is what red tape really does to a country. The Western Cape's Red Tape Reduction Unit has a 90% reduction rate to assist business with unnecessary red tape. Government's red tape is killing South Africa's economy. We in the Western Cape understand the disastrous effects it has on jobs and growth and the impact of legislation on the economy. The Western Cape is committed to implementing regulatory impact assessments to new legislation introduced and creating an enabling environment, removing onerous red tape and blockages that prevent ease of business. The DA-led Western Cape is already a leader in broadband access. Our initiative to provide services to 2,000 government sites, including schools and libraries and health facilities, means that by August 2018, most sites will be connected, with 90% of sites enjoying 100 megabytes per second speeds and 10% enjoying 1.1 gigabyte speeds. Increasing internet connectivity to areas where it lacks is incredibly important. A 1% increase of connectivity is so profitable that we get 10 times the money back on its investment. According to the World Bank study, Chairperson, for every 10% internet penetration in a developing country, there is a correlated 1.38% GDP growth. This is one of the primary factors driving the adoption and implementation of the Western Cape's broadband strategy. The green economy also plays a pivotal role in stimulating economic growth, and with the help of national government, we're hoping to implement the designation of the Green Economy Manufacturing Zone in Atlantis, which will attract new companies to the area. Chairperson, there's no doubt that DA-led Western Cape is already on the right path to economic development, promoting economic growth through improving public infrastructure delivery, and position the Western Cape for investors and entrepreneurs. Chairperson, this is the kind of government that DA represents in the Western Cape, a supporting government giving opportunities for all. I thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister Masuku, continue on the debate.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I appreciate the opportunity that we've been given by the House to come and debate the work that we do in the department. Where do I start? Maybe I should start from the beginning. Greg Mills once said in 2010 that the reason why Africa is poor is because of the decision of the leaders of their respective countries that they have made in the past. And one time I asked myself, why this reason? Why is he reasoning like that? But somebody just this weekend evoked me to get the reason why. Because somebody went into a congress of the DA and made a lecture and indicated that Hendrik Verwoerd, is one of the best smart tacticians that a number of DA members have actually equaled, and advised that those leaders that are going to come through must follow suit. Hendrik Verwoerd made a decision together with his cronies. And that decision was to make sure that the majority of the people of South Africa are poor and should not have qualitative work. And Hendrik Verwoerd, together with his cronies, set up a framework on how the South African economy should work. Within the framework of what they put was that it must service the minority in the country. And the majority should just be tools and work as slaves in order to benefit the minority. And in this South Africa, the decisions that have been taken by those that we followed in 1994 took a decision that we are not going to industrialize, we are not going to beneficiate our minerals, we are going to send our commodities into the whole world for the commodities to be utilized in those areas. The decision of the leaders at that particular time took a decision that our agriculture will never do processing. We'll send all the materials to the other world to be able to benefit us. So that is the kind of the economy that we've been seeing growing, Honorable Chaffa and Honorable Van Lingen. It has been growing because people were buying our commodities raw as they are. But those markets in 2009, as you're indicating, Ms. Van Lingen, those countries suffered in their own countries and they had a crisis and they couldn't buy your material in South Africa, which means that your economy was so dependent in those particular world. And then what is it that South Africa has done? South Africa, not the Department of Economic Development, not only the government, but the people of South Africa set together business, labor, and government. And they look at how we should respond and restructure this economy in such a way that it mustn't continue into a downturn. And what is it that we did? We came with what we call national growth path. And this national growth path that identify all the growth drivers in all the sectors and new ones to come. And based on that, we then decided that these are the things that we're going to do to reduce our dependence on the outside. And those are the works that we're actually referring to. And now, I just hear that members of the DA are becoming more confused in terms of what NGP is. The NGP, people of South Africa, again, this government of the ANC, has decided and said, how now going forward we should, what is it that we should do? It actually came out to all of us and set up a commission to ask each and every citizen of South Africa to say, what is it that must do? And the people said, here are the things that are supposed to be done. Here is a national development plan that must carry forward. And the National Development Plan is saying in it, on page 90, if you are not able to read, on page 90 it says, when we deal with your economy, the national growth path is an action plan that you must emphasize on because it's the one that is going to take you into the new trajectory. That is what it was saying. And that's exactly what we are all about. Reversing what Verwoerd has done. And what is it that we are doing? The minister have already spoken about what is it that we are doing in terms at a national level. We are interacting with various provinces. And we have reported in the previous time when we interacted with Parliament, both the NCOP and the National Assembly, that we are going to interact with provinces to ensure that we accelerate the work that we are doing on the ground. What Honorable Shaf was talking about is that result of that work. Is the result of that work because in the Western Cape, the issues that when we're sharing what is it that we must do and consolidate our work towards NDP, there are very good officials in the Western Cape who understand that their role is to make South Africa better, not to look at focusing on They indicated that when we work, they are going to focus on liquid gas production. They are going to focus on Saldanha Bay, which is a national project that has been put there, build it up and see if they are not going to be able to carry out things at the provincial level. They have said that they are going to look at the blue economy, look at the areas of small harbors and see how to assist the province to actually move forward and contribute more into what we're supposed to do. And those were the reasons why they were actually doing that. In Limpopo, as has been outlined, and the work that has been done thus far, because we have started there focusing on that, just go and check on your statistics, Honorable Chaffa. No. Just go and check on your statistics. The statistics
Honor-
are showing that
members,
Limpopo, because of that
hold,
growth.
Honorable Deputy Minister, there's nothing wrong, honorable members, and we keep on saying that. Please, but don't disturb the speaker. Please, can you continue, Honorable Deputy Minister?
Because of the input that we've done, we haven't reflected that Limpopo today, in terms of job creation on the work that they've been doing, they are leading in the country in terms of the percentage growth, because if you look at the growth of employment, they are growing at 32% as compared to 17% between Gauteng and Western Cape. That is the reality of the work that is being done by government if you want to know what is it that we are supposed to be doing. The second one that we want to speak to is that when you go into the various provinces, you go to Gauteng, they have identified what is it that they want to do. Industrialization is part of the focus. Agro-processing is part of the focus. Material beneficiation, mineral beneficiation is part of their focus. You go to the northwest, we'll tell you, because this is an interaction that we are having with the provinces, and we are working together. And we have agreed that going forward this year, what we are going to do is to consolidate those plans and pick up those that we want to put at a national level, and within the MINMEC, identify what is it that we must do. And by the way, at a national level, this is what it is for those who do not understand what it is.
The time is expired.
Thank you very much.
We proceed, Honorable Voda.
Allow me first and foremost to acknowledge the presence of our supreme forces, irrespective of whatever our perceptions might be. The rest of us, Honorable Presiding Officer, remain mere mortals. That then leaves me with the enviable task of greeting all of you with Assalamu alaikum. Presiding Officer, I am extremely concerned that sitting across you are two individuals who are attempting to develop something that is already developed. Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Minister, the next time you're sitting in your offices, take a look at the Cape Town skyline and you will understand what I mean. The South African economy is already an extremely well-developed economy. The challenge facing you, your department and the administration, is to find ways and channels to ensure that the majority population sidelined in this economy can find access to also participate in the same. The present socio-economic systems in this country are largely biased in favor of an elite few, educated, wealthy, privileged and advantaged, a system that has existed for many decades. And the last 21 years of ANC rule, while it has seen the development of a small middle class, sadly has seen little change in the lives of the majority people of South Africa. The present systems are well established, well entrenched, and those who participate successfully in it seek largely to ensure monopoly over this situation. As such, Honorable Minister, all attempts to develop this economy within the confines of these existing systems, these existing socio-economic systems, will ensure development that will continue to benefit the same few, and the marginalization of the many will continue. Those with 2 motor cars will have 3, 2 TV sets will become 3, 2 holidays in a year will become 4, and a diet that includes rolls, French loaf, and feta cheese will graduate to include croissants and caviar. While across the proverbial railway track, more and more people will go to bed hungry at night. Working within these systems makes more opportunities available to those who need it least, and less opportunities to those who need it most. The deep-rooted mass unemployment and level of inequalities that is both morally unacceptable and constitute a real threat to the country's social and economic stability will continue to persist. Honorable Minister, in this, the year of the Freedom Charter, we in the EFF challenge you to implement the clauses in the Freedom Charter that says mineral resources beneath the soil, the banks and monopoly industry shall be transferred to the ownership of the people as a whole. All other industry and trade shall be controlled to assist the well-being of the people. This, Honorable Minister, will bring about meaningful economic development to the people at grassroots. What then is the solution, Honorable Minister? You will have to think out of the box. And I have no doubt that you and the Honorable Deputy Minister, both committed fighters of economic emancipation, will find no difficulty in this regard. It is convincing your honorable colleagues, that will remain your greatest challenge. Honorable members, I have no doubt that all of you will agree with the vision that seeks to redress the growing socio-economic gap in this country. As committed believers in this cause, I then make no apologies for repeating a message oftentimes quoted from this podium, as repetition proves beneficial to a believer. As such, we advocate for increase in salaries, nationalization of strategic resources, and the allocation of land to people, amongst others. Almost 30% of South Africans are employed in the informal sector. Increase in salaries will result in an increase in capital in the economy, and the informal sector will blossom in sympathy. However, let me hasten to add that a demand for minimum salary should not be seen in this light alone. It is a demand based primarily on the right of our working people to be remunerated in a manner that will restore dignity to the labor that they make available on a daily basis that this economy is so hopelessly dependent upon. Let us consider briefly the efforts of one Thomas Sankara, when in 1983, as president of Burkina Faso, he nationalized strategic resources, allocated land to the people, and said to the French government's offer of aid that Burkina Faso did not need handouts, as this would make the country dependent on others and entrench beggar mentality into the lives of people. By 1983, not only did Burkina Faso become self-sufficient in food, but the country had begun exporting food to its neighbors. The land policy of willing buyer, willing seller was a mere continuation of the status quo. This situation exists all over the world. Extreme conditions require extreme solutions. And this willing buyer, willing seller approach, and also together with the approach which made large commercial farms available to individuals, grossly unprepared for this exercise, leading not only to compromise of resources.
Honorable Member Vodo. Your time has expired. Thanks.
It was 6 minutes, not 4. Eh?
It was 6 minutes, yes.
Thank you.
The Honorable Member J.J. Lon.
Good afternoon, Honourable House Chair, Honourable Minister, Honourable Deputy Minister, Honourable members of the NCOP. Let me first start off with the Honourable Deputy Minister Masuku. I'm so sorry that you fell asleep halfway through the televised debate over the weekend, because if you stayed awake for the entire broadcast, you would have clearly heard that the former DA Western Cape Minister, Robin Carlyle, said that Verwoerd was a racist and a bigot. And it's selectively that you choose this information. The leader of the Democratic Alliance, Musi Maimane, and also the future leader of South Africa, clearly said that we do not align with what Verwoerd said and what he stood for. So I do not understand why, well, I can maybe understand that you couldn't pay full attention to the full broadcast,
Honorable
but
Lond,
it was good.
Honorable Lond,
It was good.
Honorable Lond, hold it up there, Honorable Member. You can take your seat. Honorable Nyambe, why are you standing on your feet?
Honorable House Chair, I want to check his honesty. Is he ready to check a question about Verwoerd?
Honorable Member Lond, are you ready to take a question?
Okay.
Oh, He's ready.
Can you explain to the House why when Verwoerd was mentioned as a hero, not even a single name of a black person, not even your Mandela that you admire was mentioned?
Honorable Chair, can I go ahead?
Yes, thank you. You can
Our
address
country
him.
has tremendous leaders, and Nelson Mandela was one of the best, if not the best leader that our country has got.
Order, honorable members. Order,
So-
order.
And the DA has gone on record to say that we should all strive to live up to the ideals of Honorable Nelson Mandela. So that is a stated point by the Democratic Alliance, and I do not understand how the Honorable Member forgets this when we say it almost at every single debate. But I will repeat it again and again, and maybe the Honorable Member will take it in. Okay, let me go. Sustained economic growth at levels far above what we currently have is the only way we will address the unemployment rate and the crippling poverty in this country. South Africa's narrow unemployment rate is around 23.4%, almost 5 times higher than...
Okay, honorable member. Please take your seat, Honorable Dlamini. Why are you standing on your feet?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I just want to check if he can take a follow-up question.
Oh, okay, Honorable Lond, are you still ready to take up another question?
Honorable Chair, let me finish my speech and then I'll take questions. Is that fine?
He is refusing. Continue, Honorable Lond.
Okay. South Africa's narrow unemployment rate is around 23.4%, almost 5 times higher than in other BRICS countries, with almost 2/3 of the youth in our country being unemployed. Okay, there's a need for government and the private sector to address this, and everybody acknowledges that. How to address this is, everybody has said we need 6 million jobs. Okay, now the ANC uses the 6 million jobs and they do it through the EPWP jobs of vir stukwerk. Okay, ons noem dit in die Weskaap stukwerk. En stukwerk gaan nie vir jou help om 'n loopbaan te bou en vorentoe te kom nie. Nou dis goed die EPWP program om vir mense daai ondervinding te gee binne die werksomgewing. But that is not how we're going to get out of this situation. We need to create entrepreneurs. Government needs to create an environment where we can create 1 million entrepreneurs to provide at least 5 jobs for every entrepreneur. And that's how you're going to create 6 million sustainable jobs. Okay, so we in the DA believe that government should give an enabling environment to create these jobs. Now, if we create that enabling environment, private sector will come on board. Private sector is not just a small elite sitting in a city or sitting in a town somewhere. Private sector is that 1 million entrepreneurs that will come through the ranks throughout South Africa to help break the shackles we are in. We come from a tragic past and nobody denies that. Okay, there was huge inequalities in South Africa when we started in 1994, and progress has been made in South Africa. Nobody denies that. But what we should start doing is stop comparing to what we had in 1994 and measure ourselves every 5 years. So if we set ourselves a target of being here in 1999 and we end up here, we have failed ourselves. If we have set ourselves a target here in 2004 and we are here, we have failed ourselves. That is why we should measure ourselves where we are at the moment and the progress we are making. The biggest tragedy in our country over the past 21 years is how we have failed the children in South Africa with their education. That is why we are struggling to create the entrepreneurs, because we are not providing the education. And economic development can only accelerate at the rate we want it to accelerate if we give the skills to the children to come out of school and grasp the opportunities that government has there. But it's a shame on this government that the majority of black South African children do not get the same quality education 21 years into the new South Africa compared to other South Africans. And 21 years we need to start improving it and seeing the levels of improvement. Honourable Chair, I'm quickly going to wrap up. We know that it's not just a South African, a Western Cape, a Limpopo, a Eastern Cape problem. It's a South African problem. We believe that we are setting a good example in the Western Cape, and we're holding that example up so that other provinces and national can try and do the same as we are doing in the province. Sorry, my time is up. I'll take the question outside.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Member, Councillor Gavanak from Salga.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chairperson of the NCOP, and good afternoon, Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, and members of the House, the NCOP, and ladies and gentlemen. Honourable Chairperson, economic development in South Africa can only be realised with the convergence of multiple actors within the economy and around a common development agenda. This includes the coordination and alignment of the whole of government's programs towards the agenda. It also means directing capital managed in the hands of the private sector, the commitment of organized labor, and the guidance of civil society to bring together and about the quantum and quality of the economy that is acceptable to South Africa as a society, while operating within environmental limits. To this end, Madam Chair, the mandate of the Economic Development Department is critical for the growth, the efficiency, and inclusivity of the national economy, but also that of local economies. The very viability of local governments relies on the health of local economies, the businesses and jobs that are created within municipal boundaries, as well as the strategic investments made to ensure that the local economy continues to grow for the ensuing generations. The department's role in guiding the capital investment, whether it is infrastructure or finance, or through ensuring a competitive economy which in turn creates jobs, is crucial for the sustainability and functionality of local governments across the country. SALGA supports the planned strategic interventions geared towards the job drivers identified in the National Growth Plan, namely agriculture and agro-processing, as well as mining and beneficiation. And in many municipalities, where these sectors are the predominant economic sector, there has been a concomitant decline in the viability of these sectors for various reasons. This affects the viability of the settlements and that of the municipality. To this end, SALGA has launched the Small Towns Regeneration Program and would welcome the collaboration with the department around common objective of supporting towns in decline where mining and agriculture have potential to prop up the economy of the settlement. For this reason, Chairperson, SALGA encourages the department to strengthen these sectors where they are still viable. Moreover, to engage local governments so as to ensure that development is coordinated via the IDP process, which in the case of mining should assist the dialogue between mining interests and local government around the social and labor plans, and the sustainability of the economy beyond the lifespan of the mine. As far as agriculture is concerned, Madam Chair, ensuring the continued supply of input factors for agriculture, but also discussing the potential agri-processing investments within the municipality is especially pertinent with the promulgation of SPLUMA, but just as important to include the IDP. The green economy today, Honourable Chair, can be thought of as what industrialization was to the economy in the 18th and 19th centuries. A shift in the means of economic production. This is true, and perhaps not in scale, but certainly in significance, as it holds the key delinking the economy from carbon, thereby contributing to our sustained collective future. It also holds potential to create new business, semi-skilled and skilled jobs, and opportunities to attract foreign direct investment, amongst others, And this calls for the thoughtful coordination with the local government sector in order to ensure that municipalities are ready to respond to investment as well as to prepare for and stimulate or attract and localize upstream economic responses to the initial investment. However, in many instances, these shifts in the economy may be viewed as a threat to the viability of municipalities due to their reliance on energy supply as a revenue stream. Implementing green economy initiatives must be done in conjunction with and sequenced in such a way such as not to destabilize the viability of a local government. Black women and the youth face distinct challenges in participating in the productive sectors of this economy. It is commonly accepted that women bear a disproportionate burden of the global poverty, while economies of the world over struggle to be inclusive as far as new entrants to the economy are concerned. In this regard, SALGA proposes that the department utilize the Youth Employment Accord and together with the necessary partners, including SALGA, work towards developing a charter for women as well, which should set out an agenda for all societal actors, a charter including local government to respond towards ensuring that the economy is more inclusive for these target groups. Regarding the spatial, local and provincial initiatives to promote employment and empowerment and development, provinces have a central role to play in contextualizing national and grounding them within the realities and specifications of each province, thereby providing local government with guidance in terms of aligning economic planning with national economic goals. For this reason, SALGA suggests that in the alignment of and development of the two provincial economic development plans, that a framework be formulated to enable other provinces to evaluate their development strategies. This would ensure the provinces review their provincial growth and development strategies against a common framework, evaluating the effectiveness in ensuring that economic planning, infrastructure investment and development spending takes place in accordance with the principles set out of the NGP. This initiative, in turn, would ensure that local government nationally would, during the review of the IDPs, respond collectively to the NGP. The economy is still recovering, Madam Speaker, from the protracted labor disputes in the primary sector in 2014. Municipalities that are typically dependent on a single economic sector leads to vulnerabilities in service delivery and their overall sustainability. For this reason, challenges emanating from labor unrest is a threat to the economy, but also for local government. Local government and its association, SALGA, must be included in both local planning, but should also find representation at the bargaining tables, which we all know, which is a welcome move. SALGA welcomes the initiative to take forward the discussions on the outcome of the labor relations in Durban and sees this as an opportunity for support and collaboration. The impact of infrastructure investment in the value chain extends to a business in local municipalities, and therefore the coordinated involvement of the local government sector is not only essential for economic development reasons, but also for the sustainability of the infrastructure maintenance across its lifespan. With respect to the coordination, local government need to be able to ensure that national investment plans can be responded to strategically, so that investment is maximized in local areas. This means that local business and local labor could possibly respond to the economic opportunity. Moreover, Madam Chair, local governments may need to adjust their own infrastructure spend in order to accommodate, or as mentioned, maximize on the investment. The primary tool to be used, again, should be the IDP. Timeous engagements with the political and administrative heads of local government are needed to ensure that the investment is leveraged for local economies and local economic actors. With these words, we applaud the Economic Development Department and its ministry for the work they are currently undertaking, but also for the intended plans. SALGA supports the department efforts, but also as a sector wishes to engage and collaborate more fully with the department on issues set out in our submission here today. Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Honourable Mtelo.
The councillor is eating up on my time, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair, the Honorable Minister EP, Honorable DM, Honorable guests, SALGA leadership, Honorable members, distinguished guests, special delegates. Honorable Chair, let me also pay homage to one of Mzansi's finest, a revolutionary who sacrificed most of the noble task in life, a task of raising one's children, and she did that for the betterment of all of us, including those who are riding on a broken blue train. Mama Ruth taught us that one can be from the most rural part of the country, and that is from the periphery of the periphery. But you can become, under extreme difficulties, an international icon. We shall be indebted to your generation, Mama Ruth, for generations to come. Hamba kahle, robala ka kagiso, Mama Ruth. Honorable Minister, Mama Ruth would be so proud to know that on the day that she sadly passes away, 23 billion was set aside towards supporting black industrialists. That she would be so proud to hear that 4.5 billion each was set aside for the development and support of women and youth. She would be so proud to understand that through your department, the new growth path compelled us to garner special efforts to generate opportunities for young people, to reduce the unemployment rate. You are on course, Honorable Minister. This honorable ministry is living true to the ANC commitment of transforming the production and ownership patterns. Continue to diversify ownership patterns, and we should make it inclusive, consistent with the Mangaung resolution. So I want to say to the standing chairperson of the Western Cape, the buzzwords are three. You transform, you diversify, you become inclusive. Honorable Minister, let's continue to invest in the rail and port infrastructure. And the Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo announced in the recent SOPA address that rail infrastructure in the province linking Northwest to Gauteng will be resuscitated to supplement the economic activities as outlined by the province with unshaken support from your department, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, Mangaung 53rd Conference also propelled us to support intra-African trade. And you have correctly identified and said that 36 billion worth of export has already been the product of such an intra-African trade partnership. We must also increase market penetration as we deepen domestic and regional market. Beneficiation must be at the center, industrialization must be at the center, and beneficiation and industrialization are important pillars of such a noble task. We must continue to expand our export base because this remains a critical step for us to cap the economic loopholes that are existing. Through your department, Honorable Minister, 5 million jobs in 2020 as per the dictates of the new growth path should be created as we get there. Honorable Minister, we were in the Northern Cape. We have seen the resolution of the ANC conference implemented there. When Mangaung resolution propelled us to open up investment opportunities and that we must stimulate export market, economic development is we have seen that through your renewable energy, your green economy. It's all over Northern Cape. It's a living testimony. And Northern Cape is going to be the capital province of green economy with economic spin-offs on the nearby communities. And we want to say, continue to make sure that there's transfer of skill unto our locals as a stepping stone towards empowering our own people. If you want to go to Mpumalanga, Honorable Minister, the people of Mpumalanga are reaping the rewards of the soya beans factory in Mpumalanga. The people of Mpumalanga are reaping the rewards of the mining dump rehabilitation in Middleburg. You have all correctly identified that out of the 244,000, 169 is in manufacturing, which is part of the export inter-African trade that we have with our African partners. I just want to say to the Honorable Vauda that it becomes impractical sometimes to understand what you are trying to say because you are so rhetorical. But I want to agree with you that monopolies must be disbanded in South Africa because monopolies are synonymous with corruption. I agree with that. But I also want to disagree with you that nationalization is not every nationalization is progressive.
Okay,
Not every nationalization is
order,
progressive.
order.
And you must be able to be in.
Honorable Ntebe, hold it there, Papa. Take your seat. I just want to check.
Thank you.
Honorable Julius, why are you on your feet?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to know whether Honorable Ntebe is prepared to take a question like the Honorable
Okay.
Leadership now.
Honorable Ntebe, are you ready to take a question?
No, Juju is my friend. He knows where we meet.
He is not ready.
Wait.
Okay.
So we must be explicit, Chair, that
Hold
not
it
every
again.
nationalization is
Honorable Ntebe, there's
progressive.
another member standing. Honorable Mitilen.
Which one is progressive
Honorable
nationalization?
Mitilen, why are you standing on your feet?
And which one is not
Honorable
progressive
Mitilen, Honorable
nationalization?
Honorable Mitilen, I want to check with you. Can you please help us to have order in this house? Why are you on your feet?
I want to know which one is
Okay.
progressive nationalization
All right, hold
and
it
which
there.
one is
Hold
not.
it there. Hold it there, Honorable Mitilen. Do you want to ask the honorable member a question?
Yeah, which
Can you
one
then,
is progressive?
Can you then allow him? Give him a chance if ever
But
he is ready.
he's
He is
ready to
ready to
answer.
take your question. Are you ready, Honorable Ntebe?
Chair, my answer is very simple. Honorable Mtileni must go and read. There are
Take your
countries which
seat, Honorable
implemented
Mtileni. Take your seat,
nationalization,
Honorable Member
which was
Mtileni.
meant to marginalize the majority of the people in such countries.
Okay, can I now allow the honorable member, not you, Honorable Julius, Honorable Member Mateis, she's been standing on her feet. Why are you standing, Honorable Member?
Asking.
Do you want to?
No, I'm standing to ask the Honourable Speaker whether he would take a question.
Okay, hold it there.
regarding
Let me
the
ask
support
her.
of the ANC
Let me
to
ask
the free-
him.
of the Freedom
Honorable
Charter.
Mateis, please, man, don't make a statement. If ever you ask the honorable member if ever he will take a question, then you must wait for his response. Please wait. Please, yes.
So I mustn't ask
Please
about
wait.
whether
Please
he-
wait.
it's about the Freedom
Wait,
Charter.
Mama. Hold it there.
I'll
Are you ready?
I'll give her my card to meet outside this session.
Okay, take your seat, Mama. He is not ready now.
Honorable Minister, we want to assure
Honorable Ntebe.
the Northwest
Honorable
support
Ntebe.
on agro-processing.
Honorable Ntebe, please take your seat. Honorable Julius, you were standing on your feet earlier on.
Sit down. Thank you, Chairperson. On a point of order,
okay.
Honorable Ntebe called me Juju. And can he please withdraw that? I'm Honorable Julius. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Honorable Ntebe, did you call him Honorable Juju?
No, Chair, I said he's my friend.
Did you
But
say-
I withdraw.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay,
I know the Juju name is contagious.
he has withdrawn Honorable Julius. Now, the Honorable Vodo, why are you on your feet? Honorable Ntebe, can you please take your seat? Take your seat, Papa.
Chair, they are eating on my tie.
Okay, Honorable Vodo, why are you on your
Thank you,
feet?
Presiding Officer. The Honourable Julius should feel honoured to be called Honourable Julius.
Honourable,
But seriously,
please take your seat.
Seriously,
Take your
I'm
seat.
rising on a point of order. I would like to know if it is parliamentary for a member who, by his own admission, did not understand what I said. Is it parliamentary for him then to making those comments? Thank
Take
you,
your
Chair.
seat, Papa. That is a point of discussion. You had your time. Continue, Honourable Member.
Honorable Minister, we want to assure our greatest supporters, the Northwest, on the agro-processing processes that we should embark through your support, of course. The value-adding processes in the mining products that is going to bring reciprocal effects on the lives of our people. But we also want to agree with you that we want a system where our own people are going to own and control the enterprises that they have. And this is why we support your point in saying that black industrialists in this country needs to be given support in totality as we move forward. But we must clear the obsession with the President by Honorable Van Lingen. That Honorable Van Lingen is paying a lip service to this process. That she can't even acknowledge that 20 billion of tons of manganese value added from the Nkuga port, she was there in that process when we embarked on that process. And she knows what are the benefits for that. But she comes here and negate everything that she has seen. We also want to say to Honorable Van Lingen, if there's going to be a process of acknowledging the energy challenges that we have in the country, there are two things. We need to work on our generation capacity as the country, so that when we finish with the generation as the capacity as the basis, we can deal with the infrastructural distribution capacity that we have as a country. Because for years and years, our people were being told that they can't access energy for various reasons. Now, today, if you go to the most rural part of this country, our people have access to energy. And we want to make sure that our people have access to that. Honorable Minister, I want to break it down for you. I want to break the hypocrisy of the broken blue leaderess train for you. That they hate the ANC with passion, and yet they want to celebrate Nelson Mandela. Who in his own very words, pronounced for the world to know that had it not been for the ANC, he would not be known today. Mandela was an ANC to his revolutionary grave. And we must tell the people from the broken blue train. Like one writer said, the storyline of the broken blue train could perhaps...
Okay, Honorable Ntebe, please hold it. And Honorable, take your seat, Papa. Honorable Ntebe, take your seat.
What is the broken blue train?
Honorable Mitileni, why are you standing on your feet?
I want him to expatiate. What
Do
is the broken blue train?
you want to ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, then we need to request him if ever he agrees. If ever he'll be able to answer the question. Honorable member, are you ready to say?
I'm not, Chair.
He is not ready. Honorable Mitileni, take your seat. Take your seat. Thank you, Honorable
Like
member.
one writer have said, Chair, the storyline of the broken blue train could perhaps make an excellent movie script. But it is far from reality, Honorable Minister. It is far from reality. The broken blue train announces their vision will be released in few weeks. But, I mean, how do you leave a conference which you celebrate as the most successful, yet you don't even have a policy and program? You are only going to produce them in few weeks to come. Which set out the policy and programs for a broken blue train. This clearly means the fourth estate can give them all publicity in the world. But the reality of the broken blue train is a broken agenda. It's not clearly defined up until the script is determined. And we are waiting for that script. 1 minute, Minister, the broken pastor...
Order, honorable members, please.
1 minute, Minister, the broken pastor will support referendum for death penalty. Again, to make a Bambezela Ziajiga about 10 on the matter, because the Constitution is very explicit.
Hold it there, honorable member. Honorable Mitileni, why are you on your feet?
You know, I realize it's like my watch is not like that of the ANC watch, because you see, has been talking for...
Okay, you're out of
minutes.
order. Honorable member, you are out of order. We don't have ANC watch in this house. Please take your seat.
Minutes.
The honorable member is still left with 56 seconds. Continue, Papa.
The broken pastor chair also,
take your seat, honorable
the broken
member.
pastor
Thank
also
you.
borrowed an ANC second transition term. Yet they hate the ANC. Broken pastor, broken blue train. To the broken pastor, I want to say, take it easy. You are trying so hard to be Obama of Soweto. With Alistair Sparks' blue wave going to furvurt you out of the broken blue train. And we want to be clear, DM and the minister, that there shall be no freedom, fairness, and opportunity when the playing ground is not leveled. Somebody's down 50 meters down the race line. He's telling somebody who's on his marks that no, never mind, we are on the blue train. It's an
opportunity society. There's nothing like that. Level the playground so that you are able to go forward. And this is what the ANC is doing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ntebe. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Ntebe. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable Mateus, why are you on your feet, man? Order, honorable members. Honorable members, order. Why are you on your feet, Honorable Mateus?
I'm on my feet, Chair. And I would like to speak to rule number 50.1 under
Yes.
explanations, that during a debate, a council member may be allowed to explain a previous speech, but not only when and to the extent that the speech has been misquoted or misunderstood in a material respect. And an honourable speaker just previously...
Or he is not Honorable Minister, he is Honorable Member Ntebe.
Yes. And you did not give...
Okay, order, honorable members. Give her time.
Yes, Chairperson, you didn't give our speaker, the EFF speaker, Honourable Vowd, an opportunity to explain what he meant because our speech was in question as an explanation, and he should be allowed to do that because it was misquoted.
Okay, no, I'll consult Ma and come back to that one. I will consult with the table and come back. Thank you. Take your seat. I'll come back to that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, please take your seat. I'll come back to that one in the next sitting. Thank you. Now we proceed. Shall I now call the Honorable E. Patel, Minister for Economic Development?
Thank you very much, House Chair. I'd like to say that we've set out a bold vision for transformation in the economic development budget vote, and I'm delighted that a number of members of this Honourable House has, in fact, responded to that and given us feedback that is helpful. We'll take that forward. But I'd like to take the few minutes and respond to the comments, particularly by Honourable van Lingen and Schaefer, who have shown not only a profound misunderstanding of economics, how the economies work, which can be corrected by going to university, but also a failure to understand how government work. Honourable Schaefer says she'll encourage Minister Patel to look more closely at the Western Cape model. Let's look at the Western Cape model. First, let's start with the quarterly labour force survey, which the DA representatives have quoted. And I have the latest copy here, dated 10 February 2015, and I go to page 8, and I find on page 8 the following, that in fact, the number of jobs in the economy grew by 143,000 for the year as a whole. Northwest did the best, 80,000. Limpopo followed, 67,000. Gauteng thereafter, 58,000. Free State, 26,000. Who was the lowest in jobs growth? In fact, it was the Western Cape that lost 65,000 jobs. It is not the economic model that we'd want to look at. Secondly, small business development. In fact, the Western Cape government shut down the Red Door program. National government stepped in and helped small businesses. We're pumping enormous sums of money into small business in the Western Cape through the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. Over the last 2 years alone, the IDC has put 3 billion rand into the Western Cape. 3 billion rand into the Western Cape. More than the budget of the Economic Development and Tourism Department in the Western Cape. In Atlantis, there are factories now being set up that manufacture the components for wind farms. Those are factories located in the Western Cape, supported by the Renewable Energy Program of national government that sets a requirement to localize. There's a wind farm in Matsikama that has just been opened, 100 megawatts of energy. It's going to boost the Western Cape's economic growth. It is run, it is financed, it is supported by Eskom, a national entity. There are 2 electronic companies in Atlantis that opened recently, including Hisense. They are supported by national government incentives, and in fact, Hisense got the inspiration when President Zuma visited China to say that they should come and locate here in South Africa. Saldanha IDZ. Construction has started. We see this as one of a number of important IDZs. It's a national government program driven by the DTI, supported by national government. Clan William Dam. Construction will be starting shortly in the Clan William Dam. It's boosting employment in the Western Cape. It is financed by national government. Let me also look at the broader picture. The DA took over from the ANC in the Western Cape in 2009. Under DA rule, the unemployment rate in the Western Cape grew from 19.9% to 24.5%. The unemployed numbers in the Western Cape was 525,000 in 2009. Today it's 705,000. In other words, 181,000 additional people unemployed under DA rule. Let me go to the question of small business. The Honourable Van Lingen laments...
Order, honourable members.
I have a copy of the quarterly labour force
Honourable
survey.
Minister, please hold it there. Honourable members, we are governed by rules. If we check on rule number 32, the members during the debate in the council are not allowed to converse aloud. Please. We need live in this house, but we don't want to prevent the speaker to be heard. Thank you. Continue, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. I think it's because these are unpalatable facts. It's when you put facts on the table that changes the storyline, and it's an uncomfortable truth. You have to shout, you have to heckle, you have to not hear what those facts are. Let's put a few more facts on the table. I want to point to the fact that Honourable Van Lingen complains about the budget of the department on the one hand, and she laments the lack of funding for small business on the other hand. Perhaps I can teach Honourable Van Lingen how to read the accounts of a department. The budget of the department is 885 million rand. Of that, 152 million comes to the department. 406 million goes to the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. In other words, almost 3 times as much of the budget that goes to the department goes to small business. Honourable Van Lingen argues about a bloated bureaucracy, 32 extra people. But listen to this. She says it's grown from 117 to 149. What she fails to point out, I have actually asked that it be reduced from 166 to 149 so that I release resources that can go into small business development, that can meet the needs of communities, that can actually transform the economy. Honourable Van Lingen said little has been done since the Infrastructure Development Act has been implemented. In fact, 16 water use licenses have been issued on the infrastructure program. 4 environmental impact authorizations have been given. And if you look today, 220,000 people are working on our national infrastructure program, building dams, laying railway lines, building roads, building energy stations, building schools, building clinics, building hospitals. So let me wrap up. Let me wrap up really with this, that we have an opportunity in Parliament through the NCOP and the National Assembly for a real deep debate, or we have an opportunity for point scoring. What we've seen from the Democratic Alliance today is a shallowness of ideas that means that all they can do is have a trenchant critique of everything that government does. This country is wrong. Everything is wrong. We are so depressed. That's the storyline from the DA. From the ANC, it's a different storyline. It's a storyline of economic growth. It's a storyline of jobs creation. It's an infrastructure development.
The minister cannot even hear me because you are making, I don't want to say noise. Please, honourable members, Minister, your time has expired.
I'd like to then conclude to say that what's come out of this, Honourable Chairperson, is that the ANC has a vision to run a country, the DA has a critique. That is the difference between a party that wins the majority of people's votes and a party that won a tiny minority of votes. Thank you very much.
Your time has expired, honourable Minister.
Chair, Mina, I just want to check with you. When ANC people speak, you don't check your watch. And when people from other parties speak, I don't know if we're using different watches.
Allow me to raise his concern.
No, I've been watching the minister now. He spoke for 8 minutes, undisturbed. And when you realize that it's about time, you tell him, you just grab the microphone and then you keep quiet. I think you are being unfair.
Honorable Mitilen.
We don't want to join the ANC. This is a multi-party government. I think you are being unfair.
Honorable Mitilen, are you done, Pap?
Maybe my watch is faulty, I don't know.
Are you done, Pap?
You don't check. The minister spoke for 8 minutes. I've been checking here.
Honorable Mitilen, are you done? I want to respond. I want to respond to you. Okay, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Please give me a hearing. Honorable members. I don't want to call you by names. Honorable Mitilen, maybe your watch is having a problem, but I did caution the minister that his time is expired, and the honorable members has heard me when I was saying that. Really, indeed, I said his time is expired. So now the honorable members. Now you are laughing there. You don't even listen to us, Honorable Mitilen. Honorable Khoshi, can I address Honorable Mitilen? Maybe you need to know that when there is some interruption, if ever people want to address the chairperson while the speaker is on the podium, there are people who are managing time here. So don't worry when your time is not exactly the same as ours, because when you interrupt the speaker, you don't stop your watch, honorable member. So thank you very much, honorable members. That concludes the debate and the business of the day, and members are requested to remain standing up until the procession leaves the house. This house is adjourned.
Chair, I'm asking to be recognized before you close. Please, I need to be recognized on this. And I'm asking that you not be dismissive here. Chairperson.